Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome from um, the Global Institute of Law, Oxford. I'm live from Oxford, and today we'll be joined by Professor Dr. Mohammad Munir, who is a professor at International Islamic University, Islamabad. Today, Dr. Professor Mohammad Munir will speak about gifting corpus or usufruct of property to women. We will have his talk for about 20 minutes, and then we will talk generally about his research, about his academic career, and we will also take live questions. So if you have any questions, you can type in on our Facebook page, and we will convey it to Dr. Professor Muhammad Munir, and then we will have an interactive session. So over to you, Professor Dr. Muhammad Munir.
Uh, First of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm very thankful to Dr. Muhammad Zubair Abbasi Sahab for inviting me to speak on a topic of law, of course, and then to be followed by some discussion, some question and answers. Uh, Dr. Abbasi, mashallah, has been doing a great work himself, has been a great researcher, mashallah, and has done and he made tremendous contribution to the legal field. This is great, alhamdulillah. Secondly, I'm also very thankful to what the initiative that he has just taken, this Global Law Institute and the series of lectures that he's arranging. In fact, he talked to me a couple of days ago that if I would be the first one to start with, and I had to apologize because I told him I had to be away from Islamabad and would not be able to join, on that particular occasion. It got a bit late, and I'm so sorry for that. And there was some, celebration in the family for which we had to go to the village. And let me just come to the very small topic that I have chosen. Honestly speaking, this summer, especially before Ramadan, I started some work, and one of the article was completed and sent to a journal, and on the 1st of June it was published as well. The second article, this what I'll be talking today right now in a couple of minutes, this was basically part of a long lecture that I presented and I gave on the 14th of November when it was my second day of, this severe attack of Corona. And of course, I didn't know about that, that I'm suffering from Corona, although I had every problem. But I had promised them that I will be presenting on the financial rights of women in Pakistani legal system. It was arranged by Al-Khwarizmi University, Tehran. And in fact, when I was speaking and I had this bad cough, I was told by somebody after the lecture, Professor, if I could check Corona. And I said, okay. So I checked Corona and the test, was positive. It was, too bad. And honestly, what I did was, during this Ramadan, I just edited further. And I wanted to write on this topic on what I call gifting the corpus or the usufruct or the benefits of the property to one's wife, so that if the husband is dead tomorrow, the wife or the widow is not dispossessed and she doesn't become a battered, helpless woman. Unfortunately, the state doesn't take care of such women, such widows. And the problem is, if the husband, could do something, he should do it when he is alive. And this is why this is, you can say, the fourth subtitle in the big article. And it will publish, inshallah, very soon. So here I will be sharing the screen with you again. And we will be having maybe some discussion as well if you have questions about this, or there could be questions in general, okay, inshallah. So I hope you can see the presentation here, and I hope to be able to show you the whole page. I hope we can show it as well.
Yes, sir. It's visible. Thank you very much.
It's available now and you can see it. And this is just slide number 2. So this is basically the title. It's a short presentation, not a very long one, honestly, because the time is short. So this is basically, if there is a situation, to be very honest, where did I hear of this, in my career? I went to South Africa in 2006, I guess, yes. I was a resource person in a conference. And it was in that conference that South Africa, they have some peculiar problems relating to South Africa. So most of the Muslims have migrated from what is India today and what is Pakistan today, mostly India. They have settled there like 200 years ago and 150 years ago. And sometime, they come and go, this marry from here, India or Pakistan. And just imagine a woman who has, say, been a wife there for like 70 or 80 years. And when the husband is died, is dead or passes away, she is told by the two kids, a son and the daughter, Mom, you take your 1/8 as your Islamic share. Thank you very much. We are going to sell out the property. This is your share, and thank you very much. God bless you. Now, where should she go? Well, South Africa is not a so-called typical, it's not a Muslim state at all, and not a social welfare state, not a typical welfare state at all. So what can she do? Now, what could the husband do, by the way, when he is alive? To what? To benefit his wife, especially upon his own demise. And when I came back, I started, on this, what we call usufruct, which is defined in section 122 of the Transfer of Property Act, and studied these tools. How can a woman be protected under Islamic law? And then it was again astonishing, and really, I was really happy to see that our legal system cases, there are many, many cases in our legal system in which, if a husband had tried to take care of a lady in such a situation, the court had really honored that gift. So this is why, although it's too late, by the way, I mean, you think of it in 2006 and you just have something in writing in front of you in 2021. But as they say, it is better to be late than never. So this is basically the reason why I'm what I wrote on this topic, and now want to just have a small talk about it as well. This is a small outline. How can a husband benefit his wife after his death? And how can he make sure that his widow continues to benefit from the wealth or assets left behind by him upon his demise? And most of the time, husbands, when they gift the property or the estate to the wife, they attach certain conditions. So would those conditions be valid and binding or not? And would such conditions invalidate the gift itself? What is the position, of course, of Islamic law and cases in Pakistani legal system? As we know, all the friends you understand, that we have, of course, inherited the common law system where we love to see decided cases and use them as what is precedent. As they say, similar cases shall be decided similarly. And the bulk of the laws that we have today are what we have inherited in 1947 when we got independence, and they are still protected by Article 268 of our present constitution. Certain good things in our legal system, that one should know before one embarks on such studies. And here is this section 2 of the Muslim Personal Law Act 1962, which is really good. What does it say? It says, notwithstanding any custom or usage in all questions regarding succession, special property of females, and betrothal, marriage, divorce, dowry, adoption, guardianship, minority, legitimacy, or bastardy, family relations, wills, legacies, gifts, religious usages or institutions, including workups, trust and trust properties. Now, these are almost 19 things, I guess, okay, if you count them above. The rule of decision, how should we decide such cases? Under which law? Subject to the provisions of any enactment for the time being in force, shall be the Muslim personal law or Sharia. So here you go. What is Sharia here? Okay, they have written it in parentheses, but it is what is outside the parenthesis, which is what? The Muslim personal law. And especially if the parties are Muslims. So, good thing. And then we have a sort of a statutory definition of Sharia in Pakistani legal system, which is available in section 2 of the Enforcement of Sharia Act, which defines Sharia as the injunctions of Islam as laid down in the Holy Quran and the Sunnah. So this is basically the statutory definition. Good. Now, as we know, Sharia means much more and includes many more things, but here it's a bit narrow. But there is an explanation to section 2, which says, while interpreting and explaining the Sharia, the recognized principles of interpretation and explanation of the Holy Quran and the Sunnah shall be followed. This is a problem here. If you look at the decisions of the Sharia court, then they always just say one thing. The above, the impugned provision was, however, examined, but not found against the injunctions of Quran and Sunnah. They never look at this explanation here, okay, which says Sharia also means the recognized principles of interpretation and explanation of the Quran, and is not only the Quran and the Sunnah, okay, and the word shall is used, and the expositions. Now, this is important. Expositions and opinions of recognized jurists of Islam belonging to prevalent Islamic schools of jurisprudence may be taken into consideration. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen as such. This used to happen, say, before 1947. The Anglo-Indian judges have perhaps trying to dwell into these things. But since 1947, we have narrow interpretations in most of the cases involving Islamic law. Then there is this section 4 of this act, which says, while interpreting the statute law, if more than one interpretation is possible, the one consistent with the Islamic principles and jurisprudence shall be adopted by the court. Now, the court has a sort of a discretion to determine that this one is, more consistent, because we normally don't find, interpretations by jurists which are inconsistent with Islamic principles. But then court has got a discretion. Now, when are the courts in Pakistan going to exercise this discretion? Only God knows. And B, where two or more interpretations are equally possible, the interpretation which advances the principles of policy of our constitution, of course, and Islamic provisions of the constitution shall be adopted by the court. Honestly speaking, what is the overall effect of what these provisions? I call them paper tigers, because judges and lawyers never use them. They never consider these provisions in interpreting statutes. And this is very, very unfortunate. What they do is, it is case law, and case law. Plus, they will say, okay, if we don't have a Pakistani case, we may have the one by the Privy Council decided before 1947. There could be even a case from India, from some other jurisdiction. But of course, they will not look into what these provisions that we have just done. As we know, of course, family cases are decided by the family courts. An appeal is made to the first appellate courts. There is no appeal, of course, to the high courts, but people will come on writ petition, and then sometime people reach even what the Supreme Court. Okay, in some cases, just to get 50,000 rupees, they spend like what, 500,000 rupees, and 10 years, 20 years time as well. This is the topic here. Again, why this topic? There is another reason that I have, of course, I wanted to address. It is argued by some people that the share allotted to the wife, who only receives 1/8 of her husband's estate if he is survived by any child, is very inadequate. And this can be, addressed very easily. Okay, regarding the 1/8, a widow gets in her husband's estate if she has children to be not enough, can be addressed easily by the husband before he is dead. So, under this scheme, a husband can give the use of his estate to his wife, and should this happen, His estate will not be divided upon his demise. Rather, it will be delayed, okay, till the death of his widow, and his wife will use it till her what? Her death. His property will be divided after her death, and this procedure is known as hibbatul manafi', or gifting the benefits of estate. So depending whether he has gifted the entire estate to the wife or whether he has gifted only the benefits of the property. So the first is just hibbatul ain, okay, and the second is hibatul manafi'. This is Arabic, of course. It is used in situations where it is feared that the children might throw their mother out of the family property and that she will have nowhere to go. So under Islamic law, a gift is generally considered as a transfer of property or benefits thereof to another person for no consideration. So it is defined by section 122 of the Transfer of Property Acts as the transfer of certain existing movable or immovable property made voluntarily and without consideration by one person called the donor to another called the donee and accepted by or on behalf of the donee. As I said earlier, this is the definition in TOP. Now, what is this gift under the English law? It covers two different conceptions of Islamic law, hiba and ariya. Hiba means the transfer of tamlikul ayn, or the transfer of the corpus. And it is also called milkiyat tamma, complete, ownership. It is an immediate and unconditional transfer of the ownership of some property or of some right without any consideration. What is ariya, this commoditum, is known as tamlik al-munafi'. So the estate will be there. The estate is not given, the ownership of the estate is not given to the widow. Rather, she is benefiting from all the rent on the property, all the produce, agriculture, whatever of the property. Okay. Or the grant of some limited interest in respect of the use or usufruct of the what? Some property. So the first is tamlikul ayn, the second is tamlikul manafi'. In this kind of gift, only usufruct is transferred for a specific period, and the ownership of corpus remains with the donor. Our focus, of course, here is what? An ariyat made in favor of the wife. We have many cases here. In one such case, which is Musammat Khan Bibi versus Safiya Begum, and PLD 1969 Lahore, a Sunni Muslim died leaving his widow, mother and two sisters. One of the sisters brought a suit for her share in the deceased property, which was consisting of two houses. There was no dispute over one house. However, the widow contended that one of the house was given to her by the deceased during his lifetime. She produced a document and a number of witnesses in favor of her claim. Accordingly, the trial judge accepted widow's ownership of one house as gifted to her by the deceased. And the deed that was written said, the position of the donee on the house in question will be up to her lifetime. And so long as she lives, the donor will not alienate the house or dispossess her. Similarly, the wife will have no right to marriage, as to mortgage, alienate, or give the property to anyone. Most of the time, in Pakistan, when this gift is given to the wife, conditions are attached. Before this lecture, I have spoken to someone who is a very old Patwari, the revenue officer in Pakistan. And he told me that in this region, Pindi, Islamabad, most of the time when people come to give the property to the wife and they try to attach certain conditions, we said no, we cannot write any condition here. Once it is gifted, it is gifted, and she has every right to mortgage or alienate or sell or whatever with the property. But of course, there are certain cases in which this was not the case. This is, the whole country, and conditions were also attached. So Musammat Safiya Bibi died during the pendency of the case. These are civil cases, and sometimes it takes longer, especially when it goes to the High Court and Supreme Court. They don't decide it quickly. The Lahore High Court ruled that the life interest created by Abdul Rahim in her favor has come to an end. The court reverted the house to the husband and ordered it to be open for distribution among his legal heirs. The ownership of the corpus of the house in question was kept by the deceased Abdul Rahim, and only the use of usufruct was gifted to the wife for her enjoyment during her lifetime. So this is basically a decision, of course, of the Lahore High Court, in which this is what is decided, and as long as it is decided, it is what the decision, that's it. There is another case in which we try to talk up what this gift for life, al-Umrah. And there is a case in Farid versus Musammat Nur Bibi, again Lahore High Court. Land was gifted to his wife at the time of marriage, and the gift did contain the phrase, Hina nikah sani ya hina hayati. The marriage ended soon with divorce, and he sued to have the gift. It cancelled, and he argued that it was given for her maintenance. And since he is no more responsible for her maintenance, therefore, it should be reversed to him. What happened? The trial court declared the condition is void and the gift is complete. The Learned District Judge endorsed the same. The Lahore High Court argued that the praise that is for life or remarriage is a typical praise with regard to the limited estate of a female under custom. The general rule of custom for the creation of such an estate is that in the absence of sons and descendants in the male line, the widows take the land on a life interest, and that this right to hold the estate for life originated in her undoubted right to maintenance. The gift in favor of the respondent is complete and absolute, and the conditions are void. So you will see many cases in which the conditions are considered to be invalid, but the gift to be absolute and valid. That she has acquired heritable title in the land in dispute. There is again another case on this point, Abdul Hamid versus Muhammad Mahiuddin. It's very important, it's a very important case on the issue of al-Umrah gift, a lifetime gift. The question before the court was whether a gift by a person to his issueless wife for life could be construed that it was a gift of immovable property, the condition of usufruct being void. The appellant contended that the donor's statement contained that the land was given to the wife for guzara, maintenance during her life only. And this shows intention of the donor that he had gifted usufruct of the land and not the land itself. Further, that the donor used the words tahina hayat de diya hai in Urdu, given for life until she leaves. The court decided the case in favor of the wife and declared her owner of the disputed property. The court also declared the condition as what? Ineffective and void. There is another case here, Kazim versus Muhammad Iqbal. The court has construed a gift in lieu of dower as hibba bil-iwas, whereby the duni gets exclusive right in the gifted property. It was held that with deed of gift by husband in favor of wife was by necessary intendment a dower deed, such wife becomes full owner of the property, and her title thereto could not be questioned at all. And that any condition laid down in the deed, the duni would enjoy usufruct only, would be void and of no effect. So remember the first case in which the conditions were considered to be what valid, but then the recent cases, this one of the Peshawar High Court and of the Lahore High Court, in which the conditions were considered as null and void. There is another case here, Kaniz Bibi versus Sher Muhammad. This is Supreme Court, and it is elaborated 3 different principles regarding gift. Gifting the land or the estate over to the wife. The first is about the transfer of possession, which is an essential element of the gift. I mean, sometimes, the husband and wife live in the same house. And most of the time, when this is the case, then the court has laid down a principle here that it was here that where a gift is made by a husband to wife living in the same house, and there is no strict need of proof of transfer of possession. The same is applicable to a gift made by father to his child while living in the same house. Most of the time, the husband will ask, of course, the patwari, the revenue officer, to change the ownership of the land from him to what, to her or to his wife, and he will make the change in the register. And the second principle of, made by the Supreme Court in this decision is about revocation or otherwise of the gift later on. The question was whether after making the gift, any subsequent action of the donor in respect of the gifted property signifies revocation of the gift. The court held that when the donor and the donee are of close relation, like husband and wife in this case, and the mutation has been once proved, in such action would be considered as to be having done on behalf of the donee and not in his own capacity as owner. So maybe the husband has talked to the Tahsildar, otherwise we say the revenue officer later on, the Patwari, but it means he has done something on behalf of the donee in this case, rather the wife. The third principle is related to the hibba bil iwas, where is giving a gift in return of some money, and the money is so less, it's like exchanging 1 canal of land in Islamabad for 100 rupees. So where a gift was made by father-in-law to his daughter-in-law in lieu of marriage, and the deed contained that she will be entitled to the outcome of the property. Remember the English of written by Pakistani judges. Since I have put it in quotation, I cannot change the word, although I don't like it. The court held that the gift was not only of usufruct, but of the corpus of the property. So this is just simple. The simple conclusion is that under Islamic law as well as case law, in Pakistan, a husband can give the benefits or corpus of his property to his wife so that she could benefit, of course, till her death. This is a simple, formula. If a husband wants her wife or widow that she should not be thrown away from the property, and that she cannot go anywhere, where will, a woman who is 60, 70, 80 years old, okay, go when she is what? When her husband is dead. Okay, the brothers or father may not be alive, the brothers and other relatives will not take care of her. This is basically a short presentation, and you welcome, any relevant question, or we could have any other discussion that Dr. Zubair was talking about.
So thank you very much for your excellent presentation. May I request you to please stop sharing your screen? We have a number of questions, and a lot of people are engaged, and this presentation.
Yeah, Zubair Sahab, your voice is
okay.
Please. Oh yeah, now it is okay.
Okay, so
now it is okay. Should I stop this presentation now?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay.
So thank you.
Now we are back.
Yes, I think this is an excellent issue that you have raised. Like in Pakistan, normally it happens whenever there is marriage. They say property should be transferred to the property to the name of the bride, but they say ghar naam lagwa diya, and then it is written ke rehne ke haq hasil hai. So she has the right to live. So basically, what is actually given to the bride is not the property, just the right to reside there. So I think this is something which affects so many women. So thank you very much for bringing this point. But I just want to get your input on this whole distinction between usufruct and corpus. So what
basically.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So what we are primarily dealing here is the issue of private property, but within the context of family law. So here we see intersection between property law and family law.
Yes. Yes, this is something perhaps unique. And I would call it, one of the finest legal circumvention that I have seen anywhere. And the good thing is, here Islamic law, rather decisions of Islamic law, at least I have found 2 decisions, one by the Supreme Court and one by the Peshawar High Court, in which they have given lots of verses of the Holy Quran. They have given almost all the hadiths regarding this issue, and then they have given the exposition and the interpretation and the application of all those things in what? By the fuqaha. There are some, normally you don't find this stuff in these decisions, but here somehow it leaves two decisions. One by Justice Yahya Afridi when he was at the Peshawar High Court, and of course another one by the Supreme Court. They are loaded with these things, and I would call them rather exceptions. Yeah. Just a second. Yes, I'm sorry.
Uh,
Yes.
yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So the whole point of this whole session
Yes.
and our series is basically to celebrate established scholars like yourself. So that's why we call it luminaries in law. So while we are waiting for questions, a number of people have asked questions. I just want to ask you to share some insights from your from your personal life as a teacher, as a scholar, as a researcher. So I just see your scholarship spanning at least in three areas of law. That's my understanding, being your student. So I remember 10 September 2000 when I attended your first lecture on jurisprudence, and ever since I have been your student. So your scholarship falls in three main areas. One is family law, another is jurisprudence, and the third is international law. And you also, at some point, I have written on environmental law. So how is it that you're just juggling with these different areas of law? How do you link these different areas in your scholarly endeavors?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbasi. I think it might take a bit longer time, to answer this. Firstly, when I was at Stockholm University, I wrote this thesis. It was really a very horrific and difficult topic to write on, the polluter pays principle and international environmental policy and law, economic and legal analysis. It was very difficult topic, honestly. But I learned too much. And I really was fascinated by environmental law and environmental economics both. And honestly speaking, I can say that I had to teach myself environmental economics. But the problem is, when I came back here to Pakistan, I just thought that perhaps the studies that I have done at Stockholm is a bit ahead of time in Pakistan. I mean, the polluter pays principle, there is like the backbone of the best environmental policy a state could have in Western Europe or North America. But here in Pakistan, I thought perhaps, we need to catch up, and there is perhaps long, what we say, way to go and time to go. What happened again? I had to complete a second LLM here, and I had to write only its thesis. And in that thesis, of course, what I did, which I wrote in Arabic here, and that was in Arabic, Ahkamul Madaniyin of Ahkamul Madaniyin, rather في الشريعة دراسة مقارنة بين القانون بين الشريعة والقانون الدولي الإنساني, rather in non-combatant immunity in Islamic law and international humanitarian law, comparative study. What happened was, I had to compare international humanitarian law, in other words, the laws of war, with Islamic law. And it gave me a sort of in-depth, I would say, insight into another fascinating area. And then somehow the International Committee of the Red Cross people, they got to know about this research that, well, in this area of the world, people are not doing, such research. And what they did was, they said, well, Professor, can we have a copy of your thesis and that? And can we get a copy? And, it is from that time onward that I started doing comparative studies between IHL, International Humanitarian Law, or the laws of war, and you can say Islamic humanitarian law. And then when I participated in this debate, it was like what I got to know, that at least a scholar in Al-Azhar University has done some studies. And then, There was no internet in the early 90s in Pakistan, and even at that time. So whatever was there was, say, published, available in libraries or not available. I got to know only, you can say, few scholars in the world who have done these comparative studies. I remember Dr. Zaki Yamani, the former oil minister in Saudi Arabia, had published in Michigan Yearbook of International Studies, some article as well. And I got it. It was too difficult to get, but I still got it, managed to get it. What I understood was that it was a very good area, but I told myself there are too many people, doing comparative studies and writing on what IHL says this, Islam says. I said, no, let me focus purely on Islamic law, or what I call Islamic humanitarian law. Okay. So I stopped, by the way, doing those comparative studies, but my research, which gave me like some 8 to 10 articles, honestly, it was purely focused on on this Islamic humanitarian law, or the laws of war in Islam. And it, of course, I just put them together. And in 2018, this Edmund Millen Press, New York, published the book. And then we hear, our own local publisher, the Ball Research Institute for Research and Dialogue, they wrote to the Edmund Millen Press, got the copyrights for Pakistan only, and published it here. Then, so these are just, say, 2 areas. And I would say this: the law of war and peace in Islam has taken a lot of my precious time. And perhaps the most difficult and controversial thing that I have discussed is the causes of war, not the conduct of war. So the conduct of war, most of the time we agree. All the schools of thought in Islamic law agree with each other. But when it comes to this, the causes of war, that is, why do we fight? The Jews said, Balaam, well, you remember all the Islamists here and here in the world. They will kill you if you tell them that the cause of war in Islam is not the elimination of infidelity in the world. So that's, a very, I would say, controversial area. But I have been revising that area of my research like maybe hundreds of times. Anyhow, from that time onward, a time came when I wanted to do my doctoral thesis. And I said I shall do doctoral thesis in a topic which shall serve the legal system in Pakistan. And perhaps researchers abroad will also benefit from it. And the topic that I had chosen was in precedent in Pakistani legal system. And it was accepted by the Board of Higher Studies and Research at the University of Karachi. And I'm very thankful. And the book was when I finished the thesis, the book was published, and it is a bit renamed, and some 3 chapters are removed. And the book is Precedent in Pakistani Law. And I just had a meeting, some very important meeting with certain people, and after Jummah today. And one guy who introduced himself was just telling me, Professor, where is that book now? We have a very old copy, and he's asking me to publish the new version as well. And he is, by the way, a visiting professor in your university as well. And he says, I have told my students to study it, but they say we want to buy the book. Anyhow, what they are doing is, there is no copyright in Pakistan. So what they do is the old copy given to the Karachi University is available in the repository of the HEC. So he asked him to download from here. And this is what he sent me the link. Yeah. Again, in our legal system again, which area of Islamic law is still alive, is still used, and is still, by the way, worth considering, worth examining in our entire legal system? And that area happened to be what is Muslim family law, or what we call Muslim personal law. And then again, what I would do is collect lots of cases, say from 2000 and say 2000, 2005, 2005, 2010, and then examine them to understand certain good cases, certain good areas in regarding say the rights of women, in which say judges have given some decisions that are what uh, pro-women decisions, I call them, and rather to understand the statutes that I call what pro-women statutes as well. And what I did was, again, as you know, since you are also a graduate of our university, the teacher would come to the class and would teach us talaq and this and that, and we would just learn things by rote and reproduce all those things in the examination. I mean, coming home, coming to the hostel, rather if you have just eaten something too much and then you have omitted it and don't remember anything. So you would not remember anything. So it was again to learn those things, and then how to write on those things. Then first write again, and then of course communicate to the students, make them learn something good. So just, it's so sad that some 10 years ago, when I was trying to write on what talaq, and I would be in my office there, I was the chairman of the law department at that time. Professors from Sharia department would always come from morning till evening. They would come and sit and say hello, hi, and would have a cup of tea and a coffee. And I would ask them, Professor, they would say, what are you doing, Professor, these days? I'm doing research. On what? Research on talaq, divorce. Oh, so they would tell me, what? There is this hadith. So which hadith? At-talaq kana ala ahdi Rasulullah. And blah, blah. I would just ask a simple question. Simple question I would put them is, tell me, what do we mean by, ek majlis ke teen talaq? What do you mean by the word majlis? Session. When we say 3 talaq in one session, forget about 3 and 1 and talaq and whether 3 are 1 or 3 are 3. First of all, what do you mean by the session? And they would give me wrong answer. They would say the time I entered and the time I'm sitting and then I leave, this is session, the session is over. And sometimes the students would say in the class, judges and muftis in Jamia, say Ashrafia, Lahore, very famous Jamia. 60 muftis sitting in front of you, raising their hands and giving you the wrong answer, telling me, Professor, the time you came to the class and started discussion, and once you leave, the session will be over. And then muftis in Karachi, Jamiat Karachi, Jamiatul Rashid, for example, many other places. Where I went there, I would ask him the question from where we start our Bismillah. What's the forget about, who is right and wrong here? Whether 3 amount to 3 or 1, whether Ibn Taymiyyah's opinion should be prepared and acted upon or not. But first of all, what do you mean by session? And they would give me, mashallah, the wrong answer. And I was asked, I would just simply tell them, tell me, if a person divorces his wife today, then he pronounced the second divorce next week, pronounced the third divorce the third week, what would be that? And they would just look at me, Professor, I don't know, what are you asking? And then there are like so many problems, that I discovered. Muftis don't know. Course are, what? They don't know. Forget about students. So it is great to know, to learn these, difficult concepts. And then just simply communicate to my students, tell them, brother, these are some of the easiest perhaps things, but of course, people don't understand them. Again, what happened was, what I studied is one research article on talaq gave me perhaps 6 articles now. Okay. And 2 are on stipulations, and mashallah, these are not correct. And then they give what? An article or 2. And then it was khula as well, because in khula I have a different take. I, agree with what the Maliki fuqaha. And unfortunately, we were not taught these things. And if you were taught, we were told that this book, written by this Hanafi scholar, says that for the Malikis, according to the Malikis, the consent of the husband is required. And I just told myself, you know, okay, that was the time we were studying for examinations. Now it is the time we are studying to learn something. And then, you know, universities are the places where knowledge is invented. And if there is a case, why shouldn't I study Maliki schools up? You know, books of the Maliki school of thought. And for talaq, why shouldn't I study the books of what Ibn Taymiyyah and the books of Ibn Qayyim? You know, and then another thing, you know, that was, I would say, worth doing was what? Getting data from the court sometime, begging them, please give me the data. How many cases have you decided this month only, from the first of this date, this month to the last of this date? Give me the data. Okay. And when were those cases instituted? Whether judges are deciding, you know, the cases in time, that is 6 months, or they are what? Not keeping, you know, the cases, what do we say, deciding the cases in time. Again, you know, with talaqi tafweed, believe me, I had to spend a lot of money and bug a lot of people and put them in trouble collecting the data as to how many people in how many places have what given this what do you say, right to his wife or their wives for what to pronounce divorce on themselves. So mashallah, you know, these are the things fascinating, worth learning, and of course worth writing, and I would say worth communicating with the students. So unfortunately, the students who are with me. Dr. Hafiz Aziz Saab is here. He's live, I guess, here, and he's with us. And he knows he forced me to teach LLBs, and he was of the opinion that I should always. And perhaps if he would not force me, I would not teach LLBs. And I'm now very, very, very happy that I'm helping those who want to learn, especially the last semester students. Although I come in time, leave after 2 hours, and try to teach too much, and they say, "Sir, thank you very much. We learned so much." Okay. And then you ask him, read this. And before the class, I send them cases. And after the class, I send them all the cases, this decision of this High Court and that High Court, Supreme Court. So Alhamdulillah, जितना रगड़ा मैं उनको देता हूँ और यानी कि हो सकता है दे रहा हूँ. And maybe they are not, they don't like me right now. They hate me.
No, sir.
But
I
I'm
think
sure once they leave the university, they will say, no, sir. Thank you very much. We learned something with you. Now, one thing which remains is jurisprudence. I really love this subject. And I would love to write a treatise, write a book at least, you know, and what contextualizing jurisprudence in Pakistan. Just imagine, you know, I had started something some 6 years ago. Every Wednesday, one of the professors had to present a topic, okay, that he was working on. And Alhamdulillah, it gave, mashallah, birth to some articles, some research papers presented by some of our colleagues. And one professor telling me, is the Quran the rule of recognition for Muslims? I said, what? Now, this is the problem. If a person doesn't know the concept of law, usko ragda nahi laga, and doesn't know the rule of recognition, and the rule of recognition is a second rule. And it has come from the what? The parliament say of the country. Now, is the Quran something we have legislated? And if it is a rule, then today it is legislated, tomorrow it may be repealed, and it may be what? Amended. This is problem, you understand? So jurisprudence is something I really love, and would love to, you know, work more on juris. And it's again a fascinating, you know, area. And although I have written perhaps the least of juris, but of course I would love to write, inshallah, more. I have made the outlines of, you know, a couple of outlines of some of the articles, but haven't had the time to focus too much on juris, because there are other things and other things and other things that are coming, and they want to be examined. Just one last thing. There is a question put by one of the participants.
Sir, I think I can see that, but I think maybe we just need to move on.
Okay, so go ahead.
So that's fascinating, like how you started off with polluter pays principle. From your master's thesis in University of Stockholm. Then you moved on to laws of war, Islamic laws of war, Islamic humanitarian law, and then family law, and then then Pakistani legal system, precedent, and then family law, and then jurisprudence. So this is fascinating. I think um, you have actually taught many generations. So I know your student whom you taught in A levels. They then came to me, and then when I invited you as a guest speaker at LUMS, and then they just happened to meet that they just met the teacher and the student at the same time. So I just want to ask you one very personal question. That you did your masters from Stockholm. You could have gone into practice, or you could have become a judge. You could have become a civil servant. Why you just keep on teaching and keep on researching? So what was your motivation for doing that?
Oh, thank you very much again. This is again another personal question. When I finished my thesis at Stockholm, I had finished my entire 20 credit hour thesis on this horrific topic in only 18 weeks. And when I gave the disk to my professor and saw him after 3 days, he just was extremely happy with me. And one day, I got the degree quickly. He did evaluation very quickly and got the degree. And just the last time when I visited him to say goodbye to him, you know what he did? I stood 3 times from the chair in which I was sitting to go, and he said, "No, sit down." He was asking me again and again, "Please do your LLD here, get admission here, and these are the application forms for the scholarship, and I want to supervise you. Please don't go away." And at the end, I think I had to tell him, "Professor, I have destroyed my health to finish this thesis, and now I'm homesick. So I will go, and inshallah, I will come next year." Unfortunately, I never went, of course, next year. And I met him, I think, in 2017, in the place where the International Court of Justice is located, Den Haag, they call it in La The Hague. I met him in The Hague in a conference. He was there as a speaker, and I was a speaker, and he was so happy. But of course, and we're still in touch. My professor was a great man. He became the dean of the faculty as well. And then he told me even that you have to teach 50 hours in the faculty. You will have an office. You will get this much money. I said, 50 hours, what, a week? He said, no, 50 hours a year. See, I had all those, what we say, offers from him. And a professor, remember, there does everything and can do everything. But I said, no. If I stayed back here, I'm not sure if I will die as a Muslim. That's because, Sweden is a very secular place. And Iman bachana udhar jo hai is very difficult, not easy. Okay. Anyhow, when I came back here, I just, what fascinated me was to teach law. And never, what we say, I wanted to be to join the judiciary or did the competition examination. I never tried it. Although I was thinking about those things when I was a student. And later on, I just thought, in academia, one could just be a sort of what we say free and independent, and could socialize as well, and could be available to others as well and help them, inshallah. And perhaps I have done teaching, and for a very long time, unfortunately, I have not been able to teach the LLBs. It's just the last perhaps 2 years that I have now back only to one section, because we have normally 3 to 4 sections only in the evening. Of course, I have not been able to teach the morning students. That's a pity, but anyway, I can't teach too many courses, honestly. And the good thing is, alhamdulillah, I have contributed through research, and students have the research to understand. It was really great that a professor who is a barrister and a great guy, mashallah, we had a meeting somewhere, and he's a constitutional lawyer and teaching a course in LUMS, and he has given my book to the students. He has the picture of the book, and he told students, if you want the free copy, then a modified version is available in this link. The students are, alhamdulillah, trying to benefit one way or the other, whether I teach them directly or, I teach them indirectly. So perhaps, and again, as an academician, I don't know, I have been teaching dozens of hours to judges who came to our academy. And then I have been also going to other academies as well, giving a lecture to judges. And then sometimes the judges, they need help. They just dial the number and say, Professor, other judges want to hang up this man, and please help me. And a call from the Supreme Court one day by a judge, I will not name him, gave birth to 2 articles, honestly, and they are published. Because to some extent, the Qisas and Diyat ordinance has also brought in some sort of Islamic law into the legal system. Although we cannot say it is 100% Islamic, but of course, I would say this, something is still better than nothing. And yes, thank you very much. I hope I have been answering all the questions you have.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I think we will go over time. So I'll be very, very grateful to you, as you have always been.
We had problems in the beginning. We were not, able to start in time.
Yes. So I think this has been very, very engaging, and we are being watched globally. So my motivation for arranging this is that I have been benefiting from a source of knowledge and inspiration. Why I should keep it limited to myself? I should make it available globally. So there we are. So the whole point is just to celebrate scholarship. Now, I just want to ask you another question, that at the time when you were writing, when you were producing these articles, these books, there wasn't this whole HEC tenure track system in place. And honestly, there wasn't much of motivation for professors to write, to produce. So what was your motivation? Why were you doing that?
Basically, the number one idea was to learn myself. And the Americans say, if you are a professor, then publish or perish. And I would tell myself, if I have learned something, I guess this information is very necessary for others as well. And let us share it with others as well. So this was basically the motive. And Alhamdulillah, a lot of these articles, you understand, have made a lot of good impression here in our university, in our faculty especially. 2 to 3 of my articles were made into synopsis by some females, some males, and they have done PhDs. And I wrote this article on the life of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, and the Swiss Japanese from Tokyo University made that the basis of his synopsis, of his PhD synopsis thesis. And he came to Islamabad, met me twice and interviewed me. And then I had to read his entire work as well, because he became a sort of a friend, told me, Professor, just if you could go through it. And then again, in some other places, Alhamdulillah, the articles were such, at least just somebody in Scotland did the PhD. And what he did was, my articles on family law, he told me himself, were the basis of what his research. And again, this another friend in Canada did PhD from McGill, and he told me himself again, and of course was also asking me too many questions regarding khula and regarding some of my family law articles. So Alhamdulillah, these are the people I know, but of course there may be many more. Currently somebody is doing some research in the University of London, and I don't know from where did she find my cell number. Maybe it is somewhere on the social media, I don't remember. And she calls me and she's asking me questions, and she's asking me the age of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha at the time of her marriage, and she knows about my books and research, and I have to try to help her as well. So these students, I don't know from where they get the information, and then they ask you from, say, to Latin America, to Canada and Australia, to Japan and China, and I say, Professor, you have written on this, can I ask you this question? And I say, okay, no problem at all. So what academicians do is, of course, help each other, because once there was this, I had put the abstract of the article on the SSRM, and a professor from the United States sent me an email, Professor, you have the abstract. Can I have the entire article? I have to speak on this topic. And I checked his profile. He was like 80 plus years old. I said, okay, no problem at all. Professors are professor, you know. So what they call in Pakistan, Malang Darwesh Fakir. You know, yeah, the thing is, कि professorship में Ibn Khaldun has put it the right way some 400 years ago in his Muqaddimah. If you want to make money, then you are looking, if you are an implied man and you are looking for money, you want to get money, then you are working in the wrong place. वो कहते हैं पैसा बिजनेस में है, 19th अब जो पैसा है वो उधर ही है, इसमें नहीं है, अपने मुलाजिमत में नहीं है. So we came to employment, and now, you know, I'm just in a couple of years I'll be what, a retired man. So at this stage, of course, the only thing I could just do is what, to do more and more, inshallah, write more and more, inshallah, in a couple of days, maybe somewhere in this year, depending on these journals. Some are very quick, others are very tardy and lazy and sluggish. Some 4 to 5 articles are about to come, inshallah. And there is a publisher somewhere abroad who is, you know, bugging me to sign a contract with them regarding a forthcoming book as well. But there are many other things in the pipeline. So हो सकता है रिटायरमेंट के बाद शायद लिखाई का काम थोड़ा ज्यादा हो जाए. You never know. Yeah.
अच्छा
लेकिन
सर,
पता नहीं है अभी. अल्लाह खैर करे. I must survive. अब करो ना, अल्लाह करे कोई दोबारा ना आए बस.
नहीं सर, अल्लाह खैर करेगा. एक तो ये कि सर ये रिकॉर्ड नंबर ऑफ पीपल आर वाचिंग अस, ये हमारा सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलरली वॉच वीडियो हो गया है. तो वी आर स्टीलिंग द ऑडियंस फ्रॉम टीवी, वो जो हम वगैरह से और जियो से हम काफी ऑडियंस जो है वो स्टील कर रहे हैं. ये प्राइम टाइम है. तो आई थिंक अभी मैं उर्दू में स्विच करूंगा, क्योंकि आई डू अंडरस्टैंड कि काफी सारे हमारी जो ऑडियंस है वो पाकिस्तान में बेस्ड है, अगरचे हम इसको ग्लोबली जो है वो ब्रॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं. तो सर मैं वही कंटिन्यू रखूंगा जो मैंने आपसे पहले सवाल पूछा कि आपने तो स्कॉलरशिप जब आपने प्रोड्यूस कर दी तो वो सेलिब्रेट हुई पूरी दुनिया में, बट जब आप कर रहे थे तो यू डिड नॉट नो कि इतना आपको होगा. So what were,
it was very difficult.
I really
it
want
was
to know.
Very difficult.
Yes, I really want to know कि क्या चीज है
honestly
which you
we
continue.
had to go to the libraries. You know, believe me, one day what I did was I said, you know, I must read all the table of contents of all the journals available in the Central Library and the IRI library. And I have spent days after days. You remember, they have too many journals, subscription karte the us zamane mein. And some of them were very, very old. Like, you know, some of them were from the 50s, for example. And some were, say, from 10 years, 20 years. What I would do is just go and check the table of contents of those journals, because there was no internet, was nothing called database. And it was really very good just to know that yes, people have published on this or that article. At least, you know, I could tell a student or a fellow, you know what we say, researcher, to go and check in their shelf that there is a journal and I have seen this article. उस वक्त बस ये वो कहते हैं ना, you know, that curiosity kills the cat. समझ नहीं आना कि सुबह जाओ और शाम तक उधर रहो. कहानी शानी के लिए भी हॉस्टल नहीं आया कभी, ठीक है जी, उधर ही कोयत हॉस्टल या इधर उधर, और बस उस लाइब्रेरी में मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम लाइब्रेरी. सो बल्कि सेमेस्टर के दौरान व्हाट आई वुड डू इज, टीचर क्या पढ़ा, हम 8 सब्जेक्ट्स हैं. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम टीचर वुड टीच a book or half of the book or some pages, you know, from here and there. तो वो तो साथ होते थे. कोशिश ये होती थी कि भाई 1-2 और बुक्स पढ़े. अच्छा वो पढ़ लिए. अच्छा लाइब्रेरी में there is the best of the best, तो उसको हासिल करें. And then sometime if a teacher would be too good, I would say yes, ये जो किताब में examples है वो तो ठीक है, वो तो हमें आते हैं, लेकिन this teacher is giving other examples. I'm really giving these examples. So I had to know the exact source of the teacher. The moment I would know it, I would get it. तो फिर प्रोफेसर जो है वो जो मिसाल हमें बताता था, लेकिन हमारी टेक्स्ट बुक में नहीं होती थी, वो हम भी जो है ना वो पढ़ते थे, बड़ा मजा आता था। अगेन इसके अलावा, सिंस ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग लॉ में सब्जेक्ट्स तो हम पढ़ते हैं बहुत सारे, बट वी आर फोर्स बाय से द डिपार्टमेंट एंड द फैकल्टी दैट दिस इज द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ एलएलबी, वो तो पढ़ने पड़ते हैं। आई मीन फॉर जस्ट टू जस्ट सेटिस्फाई योरसेल्फ, टू मेक योरसेल्फ हैप्पी, तो कभी हिस्ट्री की नई बुक आई, कभी जो मर्जी है उसकी नई किताब पहुंची न्यू अराइवल्स में, आज आ गई है और 12 की है, एंड मजा आ गया तो हफ्ते और 2 में खत्म भी किया और वापस भी किया। यूनिवर्सिटी सेमेस्टर ये काम मैं जरूर करता था, और ये वो काम है जो बस ये है शौक के काम, शोगल के काम। इफ यू लाइक दीज थिंग्स तो बस यू विल डू इट। और वो चीज है ना कि टेक्स्ट बुक में चीजें तो हैं, लेकिन बियॉन्ड द टेक्स्ट बुक जो है भी कुछ चीजें हैं जो इस टेक्स्ट बुक में नहीं है। वो बंदा ऐसे तो नहीं सीख सकता, उसके लिए तो आप 1, 2, 3 और जो सोर्सेज हैं उसको जरा कंसल्ट करना पड़ता है। So it is basically curiosity and just that you love the books and you love to study. बस बदकिस्मती से कभी ऐसी चीजें पढ़ी कि वो coincidentally पढ़ी कि भाई somebody has put a scathing attack on Imam Shafi'i. That Imam Shafi'i said this, Imam Shafi'i said that. तो पहले इसको चेक करना कि यार वाकई इमाम शाफी ने कहा था, तो पता तो चला कहा नहीं था। And then if Imam Shafi had not said this, and a person has accused him of what? Saying this. फिर मैंने I had to tell myself, it is now obligatory for me to rebut this and to write an article telling people, the audience, that no, you have been lying on Imam Shafi. तो वो जो एक अमेरिकन प्रोफेसर है, forgot his name right now. My second article was the result of what we say rebutting his criticism on Imam Shafi. और उसके लिए बहुत ज्यादा वो मुझे चीजें पढ़ी। उसने किताब का नाम दिया था, नीचे फुटनोट नहीं दिया था, तो आई हैड टू रीड द होल थिंग टाइम एंड अगेन इन इंग्लिश एंड अरेबिक बोथ, कि भाई ये चीज कहाँ इस बंदे ने कही है। पता चला नहीं कही है। मैंने कहा अब मेरी ऊपर इमाम शाफी का डिफेंस ऑफ इमाम शाफी हैज बिकम ऑब्लिगेटरी फॉर मी। तो कभी शाह वापस से मिलता हूँ तो मैं कहता हूँ यार मैं तो नहीं, ये था इमाम शाफी को तो नहीं जानता, लेकिन आई हैव रिटन हिज डिफेंस एज वेल। तो बड़े हैरान हो जाते हैं, ठीक है जी, कैसे हुआ। तो ये क्यूरियोसिटी का मसला होता है किसी का कि बस पढ़ो पढ़ो पढ़ो। आई एम हियर ऑन अ सोफा एंड दिस इज द सोफा व्हिच माय वाइफ रियली हेट्स, बिकॉज़ मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम व्हेन आई एम एट होम आई एम हियर। और दाएं बाएं ऊपर नीचे किताबें किताबें, एंड कार्टरों में हर जगह पे। सो सम आर अरेंज्ड इन अ स्पेशल रूम, बट अदर्स आर नॉट अरेंज्ड एंड कुड नॉट बी अरेंज्ड बिकॉज़ आई नीड देम, सो वो अरेंज हो नहीं सकती। एंड इसी पे कभी मुझे रात को पढ़ते पढ़ते 1 घंटा नींद हो जाती है, 2 घंटे नींद हो जाती है। बाद में उठता हूँ जाके ब्रश करके, तो फिर मैं कहता हूँ भाई सोना भी चाहिए, ओके। और कभी कभी सुबह फजर पड़ी है फिर इधर बैठा, ठीक है जी। तो ये जो है आई जस्ट डोंट नो, पता नहीं ये किताब पढ़े बगैर नींद ही नहीं आती आपको, सही है ना। तो इट्स लाइक एडिक्शन, ठीक है जी, और इसका कोई वो नहीं है, शौक नहीं है। यस।
तो सर ये एडिक्शन, I understand, as long as I know that you have been doing lots of administration. आप जो है वो डिप्टी डीन थे, आप हम आपसे जो है वो स्लिप साइन करवाते थे, वो पूरा पूरा दिन आपका उसमें लगता था। फिर आपको जो है वो आप इंटरनेशनल प्रोग्राम्स में भी पढ़ाते हैं, फिर आपकी अपनी फैमिली भी है। बट आई मीन इट वाज वेरी इजी कि आप कहें कि बस बहुत हो गया, अब 10 आर्टिकल पब्लिश कर लिए, प्रोफेसर के तौर पर मैंने क्वालिफाई कर लिया, तो बस अब मैं बस करूं, तो अब मैं जो है वो मैं भी थोड़ा-सा आराम करूँ, तो वो अभी आपके ज़हन में कभी वो ख़्याल नहीं आया?
No, honestly, I want to publish more and more and write more and more, and of course read more and more. And there are so many areas for research. कभी मुझे कोई कहता है कि बस अब मैं इस पे रिसर्च करे हो, क्या करे, मुझे बड़ा अफसोस होता है। यार तुम ला के प्रोफेसर हो, यू आर व्हाट फैकल्टी मेंबर एंड यू आर टीचिंग थिंग्स। आप जब तैयारी करते हो तो आपको जो ना सोच नहीं आता। एंड अगेन क्लास में अगर आपका बड़ा ज़हीन बच्चा बैठा है, तो उसका जो सवाल है कभी कभी क्या है, इट गिव्स व्हाट, इट लीड्स टू रिसर्च पेपर। लेकिन फिर बस अफसोस ये होता है कि भाई कुछ आपको पता है ना, You have done deeply at Oxford and you have spent a lot of your time at Oxford. कभी ऑक्सफोर्ड में भी ऐसे प्रोफेसर गुजरे हैं, वो क्या नाम था एक का? He used to say two things, that he will write a manuscript and he will commit suicide. तो suicide तो उसने यही कर दिया कि भाई बस वो रेंट से छलांग लगा दिया, और दूसरा वो he wrote a manuscript of course and then he put it on bonfire. Forgot his name right now, but Oxford में भी, and there are people who are addicted to research and there are others कि उनको अब जितना भी सुना है, I mean when I was at the Sharia Academy, उधर कुछ लोगों को मैंने बहुत कोशिश कर करके ना ट्रैक पे डाल दिया। अब उसमें से एक अल्लाह की वली के 25+ आर्टिकल्स हो गए। He's so young, you can't imagine. जब मैं उधर था तो वो ढाक पे था और उस वक्त वो हो गया, यानी कि रेगुलर हो गया। तो अभी 5 साल सर्विस हुई नहीं हुई, आई डोंट नो। एक और है कि जिसको मैं पूछता था कितने पेपर्स है आपके, मैं कुछ और नहीं पूछता था कि आप कैसे हो और बेगम कैसी है और बच्चे कैसे हैं, वो आर्टिकल जो आप कर रहे थे वो किधर पहुंचा, पीएचडी हो रही थी वो कहाँ पहुंची वगैरह। तो वो इस तरह हुआ कि अब मैं पूछता हूँ तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ये यूनिवर्सिटी में बहुत सारे दोस्त हैं कि जो इसी वजह से फिर तंग होते हैं कि वो चुप से रहते हैं कि ये पूछेगा कि भाई रिसर्च करते हो नहीं, आर्टिकल है नहीं है, फलां है कि नहीं है। लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम उसी शरीय एकेडमी में एक दो बंदे हैं जिनके बारे में फिर मेरा कंक्लूजन ये हो गया कि यार इनसे कोई काम करवा देना, दिखा दे। भाई मैं तो नहीं करा सका। एक और बंदा उस शरीय एकेडमी से कहीं और चला गया, माशाल्लाह ही हैज अ लॉट ऑफ पब्लिकेशन। तो किसी ने पूछा यार ओ यू हैव सो मेनी पब्लिकेशंस, ये कहाँ से आ गए? आई मीन वी हैव सर्व्ड मोर ईयर्स देन यू, और आपकी पब्लिकेशन ज्यादा है हमसे। उन्होंने कहा यार ये क्रेडिट उसको जाता है, बस वो हमें रोज कहता था करो करो पब्लिकेशंस करो, एंड अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इट वर्कड। दुआएं फिर हमें देते हैं, लेकिन ऑफ कोर्स फायदा उनको खुद होता है। यू नो इट्स लाइक किसी को कह रहे हैं यार अपने आप को कामयाब करो, समझ आए ना? मुझे नहीं, अपने आप को। अगेन मैं एक और काम करता हूँ, हमारी पीएचडी जो स्टूडेंट है लॉ के, एलएलबी वालों को तो आपको पता है दे डोंट हैव थीसिस टू राइट, लेकिन जो पीएचडी थीसिस राइटर है, मैं पीरियडिकली सबके बारे में उनको पूछता हूँ कि भाई वो रिसर्च कहाँ तक पहुंचा, क्या हुआ, ये वो करो, एंड ट्राई टू इनकरेज देम, क्योंकि कोई डिप्रेशन में है, कोई ये मसला है, किसी का वो मसला है, तो उनको जरा इनकरेज करना, भाई आप शुरू करें। मसलन कभी एक आध बंदा स्टडी लीव लेता है एंड ड्यूरिंग द स्टडी लीव यू नो ही और शी डज नथिंग, मुझे जब पता चलता है तो फिर एक इनकरेजिंग, आप फोन करें, खैर खैरियत पूछे, एंड देन दे रीस्टार्ट अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह एंड इट वर्क्स। कुछ लोगों ने अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह उधर से क्या कर दिया जी, इनकरेजमेंट मिल गई और हो गया। लेकिन कुछ ऐसे होते हैं कि उनको फोन करना और कुर्सी को फोन करना आर द सेम, जो है यू कांट पुश देम। लेकिन शुक्र है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अब हमारे यहाँ डिपार्टमेंट में हाफिज अजीज साहब के और डॉक्टर मुश्ताक साहब के कुछ और कोलीग्स हैं कि उनके माशाल्लाह काफ़ी सारे पब्लिकेशंस अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अब हैं, और इंशाल्लाह दैट विल एनकरेज बाय द वे अदर्स टू पब्लिश इंशाल्लाह मोर। लेकिन कुछ हमारे दोस्त हैं वो आई जस्ट डोंट नो डिडंट पब्लिश, बिकॉज मेरा अपना अब ये ख्याल है, इफ यू did some research and you learned something and you publish something, then you will be able to communicate to others and give knowledge to others, and especially your students जिन काम के राइट है। अब उनको मैं कहूँ सेक्शन ये पढ़ो, आप पढ़ो और मैं तर्जुमा, ये बस मुझे बहुत तकलीफ होती है कि इस तरह मैं सुनता हूँ कि बिकॉज आई ऑलवेज से डोंट रीड लॉ ऑफ द बुक्स, ठीक है जी। और सेक्शन पढ़ाना, भाई टॉपिक वाइज क्यों नहीं पढ़ाते, टॉपिकल स्टडी क्यों नहीं करते, क्योंकि देट वे यू नो हार्मनी होती है, कोहेरेंस होता है जरा अच्छा, तो वो हो सकता है, लेकिन बंदा थोड़ा सा रिसर्च करे। यस,
So that's fascinating. आपने ना सिर्फ ये कि रिसर्च की, बल्कि आपने जो मेंशन किया कि आपने नए जो है वो ट्रेंड्स अप्लाई किए मेथडोलॉजी में। आपने सिर्फ ये नहीं किया कि जो हमारे नॉर्मल रिसर्च होती है कि लुगतन व इस्तिलाहन काला फुलानुन और वल्लाहु आलम बिस्सवाब और वतमत बिल खैर, राइट? तो आप गए, आपने हाथ भी अपने जो है वो मैले किए, कोर्स में गए, आपने डाटा इकट्ठा किया, आपने लोगों के साथ बातें की, तो क्या मोटिवेशन सर मुझे बता दें, मैं अभी तक ये राज़ नहीं आपसे निकलवा पाया हूँ कि आप किस चीज़ें
इट इज
गुड
बेसिकली जिस तरह किसी बंदे को ना इश्क होता है ना किसी काम से, ठीक है जी, वो जब हो जाता है, बाय द वे व्हेन यू लव टू डू समथिंग ना, यू जस्ट डू इट फॉर व्हाट बिकॉज यू वांट टू डू इट। ये नहीं है कि भाई मसलन मैं इतना रिसर्च कर रहा हूँ, गर्मियों में सर्दियों में इधर जा रहा हूँ उधर जा रहा हूँ, और उसका क्या है जी, पैसों के लिए नहीं और किसी को खुश करने के लिए नहीं। इट इज बेसिकली क्यूरियोसिटी, as basical by the way, you love to what, to collect data, to do research, and then वो जो research है inshallah will be such that people will be extremely happy to have that, and inshallah वो क्या होगा, अभी जो एक article वो आने वाला है, that will be inshallah very very useful for the high courts itself, जिसमें data वगैरह आ रहा है, at least पंजाब और सिंध के अर्बन रूरल जो 2 एरियाज का, तो वो उनके लिए बड़ा क्या है जी, कारआमद होगा। एंड यू नो अगेन आई स्टिल बाय द वे लव टू डू रिसर्च। कभी कभी ना मैं डेटा लेने की कोशिश करता हूँ, मैं डिस्क्लोज नहीं कर सकता इधर, एंड पीपल कोऑपरेट एंड दे गिव यू डेटा, another time they just don't cooperate, they don't give you data, perhaps वो कहीं पंजाब में लाहौर में data was perhaps given to someone, NGO वालों को, and then इंक्वायरी वगैरह हुई, कुछ हुआ, तो उसके बाद जो है ना कुछ लोग डेटा देने में बहुत ही वो यानी कि इनकार करते हैं और या नहीं देते। So what you have to do is you have to use some special, what we say, relationship with the people there, कि वो आपको डेटा दे दे, और जाहिर है उनका नाम हम कॉन्फिडेंशियल रखते हैं, वी डोंट मेंशन द नेम एट ऑल टू एनीवन, डेटा मिल जाए, क्योंकि जो है मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम वी डू डॉक्ट्रिनल वर्क, लेकिन लॉ में ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज मच मोर। और फिर कहूँगा इट इज दिस क्यूरियोसिटी, इट इज टू लर्न माई सेल्फ फर्स्ट, एंड दैट वंस आई हैव लर्न समथिंग, तो मेरा अपना ख्याल ये है कि वो जो है दूसरों तक पहुंचाना ज़रूरी हो जाता है। And I'm very happy that some of the articles, when they are given to the judges of the Supreme Court, वो बड़े तेज होते हैं। लोग उनको आर्टिकल देते हैं तो वो कहते हैं नहीं मैंने पढ़ लिया है, ये मुझे पहले पहुंचा है, और सलाम दुआ जो है ना वो भेज देते हैं, और मिलते हैं तो उसका जिक्र करते हैं। तो माशाल्लाह देयर इज सम पीपल वो पढ़ते हैं, दैट्स ग्रेट। और एडिक्शन हो गया तो बस वो फिर उसको छोड़ना मुश्किल होता है, और जिसको नहीं हुआ अल्लाह करे उसको रिसर्च का हो जाए, क्योंकि जिसको हो गया, ठीक है जी। और दिमाग है ना शुरू में वो परहैप्स इतना एक्टिव नहीं होता, बाद में वो पता नहीं विद द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम शायद इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा आ जाती है, मुझे नहीं पता, कि वो थोड़ी ही वक्त में चंद एक सेंटेंसेस में यू कैन डिलीवर मोर एंड यू कैन राइट मोर। यस
तो सर अब हमारे फेसबुक पेज पर जो हमारे काफ़ी सीनियर लोग भी इंगेज हैं, आफ्ताब आलम साहब हैं, हमारे सीनियर हैं, वो भी कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं, रफ़ीक शनवारी हैं और बाकी लोग भी हैं। तो मैं
लेकिन
ये आप
वो क्वेश्चंस इधर तो नहीं आ रहे,
सर
and
आप
it is 8:33 already.
सर इट्स परफेक्टली फाइन, आई थिंक इट्स गोइंग ग्रेट। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ना कि हम काफ़ी ऑडियंस जो है वो अट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं अपने इस सेशन में। तो मैं
Yeah,
आपसे
it's written on Facebook, but I don't know the participants कितने
But
हैं और
sir,
कैसे नहीं है।
yeah, I just want to ask you a follow-up question. आपने डाटा की बात की कि डाटा जो है मुश्किल से मिलता है। तो अब
हाँ,
पाकिस्तान में काफ़ी सारे स्टूडेंट्स जो हैं वो मास्टर्स के थीसिसेस लिख रहे हैं, पीएचडी के थीसिसेस लिख रहे हैं, और फैकल्टी को प्रमोशन के लिए पब्लिकेशन करना ज़रूरी होता है। तो उसमें may I just
हम्म,
ask you to shed some light that how they should generate data themselves? Like आपने किया कि मैंने आपका जो है वो मेथोडोलॉजी बड़ी क्लोजली फॉलो की और उसको रेप्लिकेट करने की कोशिश की कि आप किसी एक एरिया पर 50 साल के केसेस ले लें, 10 साल के केसेस ले लें, रिपोर्टेड केसेस, so that
हम्म,
data is there. Only thing
हम्म,
you have to do is to basically do some effort and
हम्म।
generate some data. तो प्लीज उसके बारे में हमें बताइए कि डाटा जनरेट कैसे हम करें, बजाय इसके कि वही हम सेकेंडरी चीजें जो हैं वो रेप्लिकेट करते रहें.
Honestly speaking, there are things that are like you can say in public domain. Let me just tell you one thing. I was just I asked a case, somebody to send me this case. It was perhaps 12 or something midnight. मेरा कुछ नहीं पता चलता कि कब केस की जरूरत पड़ती. And that person told me, inshallah, tomorrow. And I tried to check the website. और मुझे एक अजीब चीज मिली, जहां पे पाकिस्तानी और पता नहीं इंडियन जो भी आपको एरिया चाहिए वो लिखो and find out cases. So I got so many cases okay in that area. और उस बंदे को कहा यार वो केस मुझे मिल गया. तो ये तो कभी कोइंसिडेंटली, मुझे नहीं पता कि किसी की सर्वर के अंदर में घुस गया, आई डोंट नो, वो हो जाता है. अगेन वही रिपोर्टेड जजमेंट्स कितने हैं आपको पता है, कितनी केसेस है जो रिपोर्टेड नहीं होते, and they don't report them intentionally. ये जो ब्लास्फेमी का एरिया है, would you believe this कि there are cases जो कि डिसाइड होते हैं चैम्बरों में, they are not even reported, वो पूरी का पूरा फाइल ही गायब हो जाता है. Yes, I have first hand information. अब डेटा कुछ होता है जो आपको मिल जाता है. पाकिस्तान जस्टिस एंड लॉ कमीशन के पास हर चीज की रिपोर्ट है कि भाई किस कोर्ट में कितना क्रिमिनल केस पेंडिंग है, सिविल पेंडिंग है, फलां ये है फलां. दे हैव ऑल द डेटा एंड आई स्पोक टू देम सेवरल टाइम्स. और उनसे ये पूछोगे वे मसलन लास्ट महीने की जो एंड तक जो है डेटा है वो दे दे. उनकी मर्जी है कि 3 साल 4 साल पुराना डेटा दे दे कि पाकिस्तान में या पंजाब में या इस जगह पे कुल कितने पेंडिंग केसेस हैं, और या ना दे दे. तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं, मसलन what I do is, and would do by the way, is going to the Supreme Court library, judges की library है उधर. You have, I don't know anything under the one roof आपको मिलेगा तमाम reported judgments. और फिर या फिर जुडिशल एकेडमी की बड़ी जबरदस्त लाइब्रेरी है. ये ऐसी लाइब्रेरी कि उसमें लोग नहीं होते, बस रिसर्चर नहीं होते और शोर करने वाले नहीं होते. आप जाएं और बैठे, मैं उधर जाता रहा, शाम तक बैठता रहा. जजेस लाइब्रेरी में कुछ 6 महीने बैठा हूँ, इस लाइब्रेरी में भी बहुत अर्सा. एंड what I would do is कि भाई एक टॉपिक में लेता था, and on that topic I would try to collect the case law, the relevant case law this year, that year सारे. ठीक है जी. तो वो बहुत यानी कि तगुदाऊ करता था, लेकिन असल में फिर भी जब मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में था, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में होता था, एंड एट द सेम टाइम आई वुड बी डूइंग रिसर्च एज वेल. तो रिसर्च में मैं किसी को कहता था यार फलान लाइब्रेरी जाओ और उधर वो जो है उनका ईयर बुक उधर चेक करो और केसेस ढूंढो, और वो चंद एक केसेस जो है वो ले आता था. शुरू में ये चीजें मुश्किल थी. आजकल ये है that there is a place I know in Islamabad, they have 50 corporate connections of pakistanlawsite.com, and although they are not allowed to download, तो सिर्फ डाउनलोड नहीं करते, वो 6 डाउनलोड कहते हैं, 6 डाउनलोड कर सकते हो, 50 भी करते हैं. फिर आगे से वो क्या करते हैं जी, पीडीएफ नहीं सिर्फ, दे इवन है वर्ड कापीज इन वर्ड. अब वो कैसे करते हैं मुझे कहते सर जी ये जरा और बातें हैं, ये बताना जरा ठीक नहीं है, लेकिन वो तरीके हैं लोगों के पास कि वो केस ला एटलीस्ट हासिल. लेकिन केस ला और चीज है. आप डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स जाएं और आप फैमिली कोर्ट्स जाएं, आप एनवायरमेंटल ट्रिब्यूनल जाएं, उनके पास भाई कितने केसेस हैं और कितने नहीं है. तो कुछ ताल्लुकात होंगे आपके या कोई रिलेशनशिप होगा, कुछ होगा तो आपको डेटा दे देंगे, वरना मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम डेटा नहीं. इस तरह इनकम टैक्स ट्रिब्यूनल में, उधर ऐसे ट्रिब्यूनल्स हैं इनकम टैक्स और दूसरे, उसमें नो थर्ड पर्सन कैन कम टू द ट्रिब्यूनल, ओनली द पार्टीज. जो है वो हाजिर होंगे बस, एंड दैट्स इट। अब मैंने कहा क्यों? कहते यार ये ट्रेड की चीजें होती हैं, ये होता है, वो होता है, और बस उन्होंने ऐसी सिस्टम बनाया है कि उधर कौन जाएगा जिनका केस है, तो पार्टी से थर्ड पर्सन तो जा ही नहीं सकता। अब उधर से डिटेल है ना, ऑफ कोर्स आई नो सम मेंबर ऑफ द ट्राइब्यूनल, तो वो तो मुझे उसने ये बातें बताई। डेटा लेना है पाकिस्तान में काफी एक मुश्किल काम है। अगर आपने कहा ट्रांसपेरेंसी ये है, फंडामेंटल राइट ये है, वो आपको कहेंगे, लेकिन उसमें एक्सेप्शन भी है कि हर चीज हम दे नहीं सकते। प्रोफेसर जब स्टूडेंट्स को बताता है कि जाओ ये केस ढूंढो और ये चीज करो, फोटोकॉपी करो और या ले आओ, तो तब वो चीज आ जाती है। और अगर हम नहीं बताएंगे और इनको आप छोड़ेंगे कि जाओ तलाश करो, फिर थोड़ा सा उनके लिए जो है मुश्किल होता है। लेकिन अगेन, इफ somebody is just behind something कि भाई मुझे मेंटेनेंस पे केसेस चाहिए, मुझे यू नो चाइल्ड अडॉप्शन भी चाहिए, फाउंडलिंग पे चाहिए, फ्लां पे चाहिए, तो वो फिर बेचारा वही जो हम रिसर्च करते हैं केस लॉ में, रिसर्च छोड़ देगा और कुछ ना कुछ डेटा उसके पास आएगा। बट ऑफ कोर्स अच्छी लाइब्रेरियों में एक अजीब चीज देखी है, अनरिपोर्टेड जजमेंट्स की भी रिपोर्टिंग मैंने देखी है, वो भी रिपोर्टेड, उसका टाइटल ही होता है अनरिपोर्टेड जजमेंट्स, और बाकायदा बाइंडिंग हुई होती है, पड़े होते हैं। अब वो आपको किस कंप्यूटर से, किस डेटाबेस से मिलेंगे? उधर से आपको मिल जाते हैं। लेकिन जो फाइल गायब करवाए जाते हैं ना, मैं इधर पब्लिक में वो बातें कर नहीं सकता। आई हैव सो मच इन्फॉर्मेशन अबाउट दैट, ये क्या हुआ, ये हो रहा है इस मुल्क में। एंड देन वो लोग मुझे बताते हैं जिनको कोर्ट वाले कहते हैं हाँ जी ये किसी को पता नहीं चले, और पता चल गया तो ये भाई आप जिम्मेदार होंगे इस मुल्क में। वजह ये है कि उनको पता है ना कि बड़ी रिपरकशन होंगे, ये होगा वो होगा। तो चीज़ें कभी दबाई जाती है, डेटा कभी नहीं दिया जाता। और कभी अगर दिया गया कि भाई इस महीने में कितने केसेस डिसाइड हो गए, तो ये नहीं देगा आपको यार ये डेट, ये केसेस इनिशिएट कब हुए थे, स्टार्ट कब हुए थे। आज तो डिस्पोज अप हो गया एक केस, लेकिन ये स्टार्ट कब हुआ था, मुझे तो वो वाला चाहिए, तो ताकि मुझे पता चले कि भाई पेंडेंसी जो है ना का टाइम कितना था वगैरह। तो ये बहुत सारे मसाइल हैं इधर प्रैक्टिकली। एंड मैं जब उलमा से डेटा कलेक्ट करता था, तौबा तौबा, वो मुझे कहते थे ये जो तलाक तफवीद है ना, ये तो शरीयत में नहीं है, ये तो इंग्लैंड का कंसेप्ट है, ये तो हिदाया में नहीं, ये तो फलां में नहीं है। और मैं कुछ नहीं करता, उनको नहीं कहता था कि ये है कि नहीं है। तो यार आपके पास जो डेटा है ना, अगर वो उसमें क्या है बस बताओ। क्योंकि उनसे आर्गू करता था, तो लड़ना तो उन्होंने। अगेन वो कभी इनकार करते थे, नहीं देते थे। एंड देन व्हाट आई वुड डू इज यूनियन काउंसिल वालों के पास जाओ, जो उनके पास कापी है निकाहनामों की। अच्छा वो अगर ताउन न करे तो फिर जिसको, सही बात ये है ना, मामा चाचू ताया किसी का कनेक्शन है, दोस्त का कनेक्शन है, तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट काउंसिल में भी कापी होती है। तो कभी डिस्ट्रिक्ट काउंसिल से डाटा मिला, तो कभी यूनियन काउंसिल से मिला, और कभी कभी जो है निकाह रजिस्ट्रार से फर्स्ट हैंड इंफॉर्मेशन मिली, जाहिर है उनके पास रजिस्टर होता है और वो चेक करके फिर मैंने खुद जो ना। और कभी कभी माशाल्लाह गलत स्टिपुलेशंस भी मिले, ऐसी चीजें जो कुरान सुन्नत तो किया कि वो कोई भी नहीं मानता, और हमारे निकाह रजिस्ट्रार साहिबान ने ना वो चीजें डाली होती है, विच इज रियली 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 सैड। लेकिन वो आप क्या कर सकते हैं उसको, ठीक है जी। तो डेटा कलेक्ट करना इस मुल्क में, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, उस अगर आपने करना चाहा, इफ यू हैव प्रोजेक्ट हो तो और चीज है, अदरवाइज यू विल स्पेंड टू मच मनी एंड स्पेंड टू मच टाइम ऑन जस्ट वन आर्टिकल। फिर बंदा ऐसे एरिया में क्यों नहीं न लिख के कि उसमें ज्यादा पैसा भी नहीं खर्च होता और ज्यादा भागदौड़ भी नहीं
लेकिन
होती।
सर
यस,
वो जो बात कर रहे हैं ना कि आपका नशा तो फिर रिसर्च का पूरा नहीं होगा ना, कि अगर आपको।
वो तो नहीं होता, वो
जी।
इसीलिए मैं क्या कहूंगा, बाकी लॉ एंड जस्टिस कमीशन वालों के साथ क्या करूंगा, और रजिस्ट्रार लाहौर हाई कोर्ट के साथ क्या करूंगा। एंड सम ऑफ दीस पीपल यू नो इवन इफ दे आर पर्सनल फ्रेंड्स, वो कहते हैं यार हमारी वेरीफाई होगा, अगर डेटा
हम्म।
डेटा है हमारे पास, समझ है ना। कभी क्वेश्चनियर मैंने तैयार किया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में बहुत सारे जजेस से डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली बात भी हो गई कि दे विल व्हाट आंसर दिस, एंड जब भेजा सबको, इट इज परहैप्स समवेयर इन 2007 और 8, अगर वो मुझे उस क्वेश्चनियर में यस एंड नो जवाब थे ज्यादा, वो थे, वो मुझे मिलते, तो मेरा एक आर्टिकल हो जाता। यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में सर्वे हो गया, बंदे ने आर्टिकल लिखा, यूके में किताब लिखी पूरी क्वेश्चनियर के, और मुझे इन्होंने नहीं दिए। और मैं जब पता करता था तो जजेस अपने सेक्रेटरी को कहते आप जवाब दे। मैंने कहा यार आप लोगों का जवाब नहीं चाहिए मुझे, उसमें एक सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट के चीफ जस्टिस के लिए था, बाकी कोई भी जज कर सकता था। Especially, when the judges, a judgment is what is reserved. Reserved judgment जो है, वो उसमें कौन किसको कहता है? Especially, this is very, very, interesting area. There is a senior judge and a junior judge and perhaps the most junior judge. तो कौन किसको कहता है? Okay, to write the decision and show it to me and bring it to me. ठीक है जी? And then बात जो dissenting में चली जाती है. There is nothing, no rules regulations in the Supreme Court on this. ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जो लॉज है वो उसमें ये चीजें नहीं होती, बट सम प्रैक्टिस एग्जिस्ट्स। एंड व्हेन दे स्प्लिट, कि कभी उन्होंने शुरू में कुछ कहा और जब डिसीजन लाया गया तो वो कुछ और था, और इसने दस्तखत से इनकार करके और लिखा वगैरह वगैरह। तो उन बातों तक पहुंचने के लिए ये है कि यार रिजर्व जजमेंट में क्या होता है, क्या सीनियर जूनियर को कहता है कि लिखो मुझे दिखाओ, या कोई सीनियर कहता है मैं लिखूंगा। और जिस तरह हमारी एक मीटिंग हो जाती है तो somebody is taking notes, ओके, मिनट्स ऑफ द मीटिंग के नोट्स होते हैं। तो क्या सुप्रीम कोर्ट में क्या होता है रिजर्व जजमेंट्स में? नोबडी नोज बाय द वे, ठीक है जी। बस जजेस जब रिटायर होते हैं, दे हैव अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू टॉक टू यू, बट व्हेन दे आर जजेस दे डोंट टॉक अबाउट दीस थिंग्स, ठीक है जी। ये मेरा तजुर्बा रहा है, एंड आई हैव फेल्ड टू गेट एनीथिंग फ्रॉम देम, एनी क्लू। जो रिटायरमेंट के बाद बहुत बोलते हैं, इतना बोलते हैं पूरी जिंदगी कि वो की सारी चीजें इकट्ठी आपको बोलेंगे, लेकिन जब सर्विंग होते हैं और हमें डेटा की जरूरत होती है तो उस वक्त बस आए बाएं टाइम करते हैं। यस
सर जी, प्रोफेसर शहबाज अहमद चीमा ने बात की है कि सिर्फ डाटा आपको नहीं देखना बल्कि डाटा की ऑथेंटिसिटी भी एक इशू है। बट आई थिंक मैं नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पर मूव करूंगा, वो ये है कि एक तो जनरेशन ऑफ डाटा है, दूसरा जनरेशन ऑफ आइडियाज है। आपने भी मेंशन किया कि वो मेच्योरिटी के साथ आता है when you
ये इसमें कोई शक नहीं है। यस
so when you yes so अब हमें उस बारे में भी बताइए कि वो प्रोसेस कैसे काम करता है, एंड देन हाउ यू लिंक जनरेशन ऑफ आइडियाज विद जनरेशन ऑफ
असल में ना, इफ यू लुक एट गॉड स्कीम, Allah has never made, you know, a person an apostle or a messenger before the age of 40. एक आध एक्सेप्शन अगर है, वो जाअलनी नबी या जो है हजरत ईसा अलैहि सलाम वाली, तो वो दैट वाज एन एक्सेप्शन, अ मिरेकल, ताकि लोग आपको पता है ना वो यकीन कर ले और उसके वालिदा पे जो इल्ज़ाम है वो ना लगा ले। अदरवाइज अल्लाह ताला ने 40वीं साल से पहले नबूवत नहीं दी। एंड जस्ट लुक एट आवर what do you say, constitution, that a member of the national assembly के लिए कुछ एज है जो कम है, लेकिन प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान के लिए एज उससे भी ज्यादा है, 45 है। परहैप्स 40वीं साल तक हमारा दिमाग जब पहुंच जाता है तो कुछ मेच्योरिटी का लेवल बिल्कुल डिफरेंट हो जाता है। And you yourself will then say, well, यार ये when I was say 20 or early 20s or before that, what I did was wrong. तो ये एक इंडिकेशन है that after that time आपकी थिंकिंग पावर स्पीड वो बिल्कुल बहुत हाई लेवल के हो जाती है। मे बी बॉडीली यू आर नॉट दैट गुड, you may not be, by the way, a black belt now after 40, or be a good jogger or a good runner anymore, or you might not be able to play football or good football or boxing. कुछ चीज़ हम फिजिकली उस तरह नहीं कर सकते, यानी हम फिर वॉक शॉक करते हैं, लेकिन दिमाग का जो है मेडिकली वो माशाल्लाह काम बहुत ज्यादा वो शुरू कर देता है। यस
दिस इज क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग। तो सर फिर 40 साल तक इंतजार करें? मुझे भी 2-3 साल अब इंतजार करना पड़ेगा बिफोर आई स्टार्ट जनरेटिंग आइडियाज।
आर यू नॉट 40?
नो नॉट येट सर।
इंशाल्लाह 40 के बाद आपका रिसर्च का लेवल कुछ इंशाल्लाह और अच्छा हो जाएगा। आल्दो यू हैव डन माशाल्लाह अ लॉट, लेकिन देख ली इंशाल्लाह बात फर्क आ जाता है इससे।
चलें सर, मैं इसी वजह से चीमा साहब के साथ ही चीजें पब्लिश करता हूँ, क्योंकि वो तो 40 प्लस ही हैं और सीनियर हैं। तो
Chima, when mashallah, even when he was in his 20s, he had gray hairs. He's quite an old man, but he's not in this Zoom link with us.
सर जूम
He's
लिंक पे
somewhere
नहीं है,
on the
फेसबुक
Facebook.
के ऊपर वो उन्होंने किया है। बट आई थिंक अगेन आई वुड जस्ट से कि जो यंग स्कॉलर्स हैं जैसे रफीक शनवारी साहब हमारी डिस्कशन में इन्वॉल्व हैं, तो उनको फिर आप क्या,
Hmm.
तो क्या 40 से पहले तक वो सब्र करें, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ बाकी लोगों की चीजें पढ़ें,
No, 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 no,
क्या
no. I'm
करें?
not saying
जी,
sabar kare. No, 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 no. Sabar to देखो. I have published my first article in 2000, and then my second in 2002, वगैरह वगैरह. Yes, by today's standards, I would say उसमें बहुत improvement की गुंजाइश है. But if a journal accepted it to be an article and published it, it's my article. I say this is my article number 1 and number 2, number 3, and people are what reading it. ठीक है जी. लेकिन if I would be writing or rewriting that article today, so that will be perhaps I would say transformed too much. यानी कि वो जो है ना बहुत अच्छा हो जाता या अच्छा होता, इस तरह ना होता. But of course उस जमाने में भी you have to, what we say, on the one hand we encourage young researcher to do research, and on the other hand हम कहेंगे भाई नहीं नहीं हम वो लेवल नहीं, लेवल तो नहीं है, मेहनत जरा ज्यादा करनी पड़ती है. उसका ये तरीका होता है that somebody is not very good in that area, so should be taught to an expert. भाई ये मैंने कुछ लिखा है, could you just have a look, and वो आगे आपको कहेगा इस तरह करो, इस तरह करो, ये करो, ये डालो, अगर वो भी पढ़ोगे तो अच्छा हो जाएगा. That helps. ये कभी हमने भी बड़े जो है ना बुजुर्गों को या समझदार लोगों को दिया होगा कि भाई आपकी क्या राय है इसमें. And then I still share with some of my friends things कि वो मैं कहता हूँ यार जरा ये आप एक नज़र जरा इस पे देखें. And then today हमारा रिसर्च ऐसा होता है कि you involve people either in collecting data and transferring data sometime, and sometime you have your own opinion and also discuss with them कि भाई is my opinion sound, is it okay, do you think it is acceptable. ठीक है जी. तो ये चीजें यानी कि डिस्कशन में जो है होती रहती है. ऑफ कोर्स एक और चीज जो बंदा ना करे, जो आर्टिकल पब्लिश नहीं है, डोंट पुट इट ऑन मीडिया, सोशल मीडिया, बिकॉज as it happened to me, one of my article was published in a certain journal and there were two names, और एक का नाम एग्जैक्टली my नाम था, मेरा भी जो नाम था वही नाम उसी का भी था. दूसरा बंदा माशाल्लाह इंग्लैंड का था, और वो you know he was the first to tell me about it, and I had to write to the HEC, and the journal was blacklisted, the researchers were blacklisted. ठीक है जी. और जब तक HEC ने उनको ब्लैकलिस्ट नहीं किया था तब वो माफिया नहीं मांग रहे थे, फिर सब माफी मांग रहे थे, यार गलती हो गई, गलती हो गई, गलती हो गई. और चलो गलती हुई होगी, अब मुझे नहीं पता, लेकिन एक आर्टिकल है जो उनकी वेबसाइट पे चढ़ा हुआ है, ये जरा याद कीजिए. ये यस टू हैव मोर फॉलोअर्स ऑन सोशल मीडिया वो तो ठीक होगा, लेकिन maybe some of the jealous people, clever people publish your work in their own name, तो उससे जरा अवॉइड. इसलिए मैं जब तक पब्लिश नहीं होता पूरा तो मैं किसी चीज पे नहीं डालता आजकल. यस. और जाहिर है वन थिंग वी शुड आल्सो डू इज जैसे लिख दिया तो प्लेजरिज्म से मेजरिटी इंडेक्स चेक करवा दे, वो उनके डेटा में स्टोर हो जाता है, एंड नोबडी कैन डू एनीथिंग टू दैट, वो आपके नाम पे होता है. ठीक है जी. और उसके आगे क्या है जी, पब्लिश करवा दिया, सब कुछ हो गया. आजकल एक और मसला है, AJRS में जब सिस्टम में आपने अपलोड किया है, उनको भेजा है, तो यू कैन नॉट सेंड इट टू एनी अदर जर्नल, क्योंकि AJRS जो है ऑनलाइन है, वो दूसरों को पता चलता है कि ये तो उधर सबमिट, क्योंकि आपने टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस क्या है कि भाई दिस आर्टिकल इज नॉट सेंट और intended for publication in any other journal, और साथ ही आपने क्या कर दिया, 2-3 को भेज दिया है. तो अमेरिकन लॉ रिव्यू विल से ओके यू वेलकम, सबमिट टू ऑल, submit to 10 to 20, and let us see which one is publishing it first. But other journals say no, हमें भेजा है, किसी और को नहीं भेज सकते. ठीक है जी. और इसीलिए ये ऑनलाइन सिस्टम आ गया. यस.
तो सर ये काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है उसमें। आई रिमेम्बर वो हमारा आपने हमें भेजा आर्टिकल और फिर मेरे एक स्टूडेंट ने, सलमान इजाज ने देखा और उसने
या जस्टिस एजाजुल हसन के बेटे
जी
ने
जी
वो देख लिया कि वेबसाइट पे पड़ा है.
जी तो
And
आई
you know
थिंक
what, those three people, the editor of the journal was begging and phoning all the time, और then the two researcher, एक तो लंदन से कार्य कर रहा था रोजाना, और जब उनका ब्लैकलिस्ट कर दिया इन्होंने HEC ने, और तीसरा इस्लामाबाद में कहीं था, बहुत बड़े वो शर्मिंदा थे. मैंने कहा यार, जब आप लोग महजूज हो रहे थे कि भाई हमारे नाम आर्टिकल आ गया, तो उस वक्त नहीं ख्याल किया कि ये क्या कर रहे हैं, चोरी कर रहे हैं। और वो भी यानी ये नहीं है कि द जर्नल वाज फ्लोटेड, इट वाज आवर वेबसाइट, एंड देन क्या कर दिया जी, उसको डंप नहीं किया किसी ने। तो मैंने कहा वो जो आप लोगों को वो हुआ है फायदा, अजी वो भी आप सरेंडर करोगे तो फिर ठीक होगा। यस।
पूरी दुनिया में जो इस्लामियंस बैठे हुए हैं, दे आर जस्ट ट्यून्ड इनटू, अब ये लंदन में डॉक्टर गौरी साहब बैठे हुए हैं, तो ही
ओह, मैनचेस्टर, ही इज इन मैनचेस्टर यूनिवर्सिटी।
सर ससेक्स में है, मुझसे करीब ही है, ब्राइटन में जी, बीच के पास है, इनको बहुत ज्यादा पसंद है बीच, तो गौरी साहब उधर होते हैं। तो गौरी साहब भी ट्यून इन हो गए हैं, और आई थिंक ये अच्छा हमने एक एटमॉस्फेयर क्रिएट किया
I
है।
just want to say salam, assalamu alaikum to all the people because I'm not on Facebook. Yeah, I'm through Zoom, connected through Zoom. तो वो जो है सबको सलाम अल्लाह करे पहुंच जाए। And it is good initiative by you, माशाल्लाह, कि आपने सारी पाकिस्तानी कम्युनिटी को एटलीस्ट जो है ना किसी फोरम पे इकट्ठा करवाने की कोशिश की है।
सर
थैंक यू वेरी
हमारा
मच।
हमारा देखिए, इंटरनेशनल इस्लामिक यूनिवर्सिटी का मैं ग्रेजुएट हूँ, तो हमारा पर्सपेक्टिव हमेशा ग्लोबल ही रहेगा। तो
इंशाल्लाह
तो
इंशाल्लाह
तो वो
इंशाल्लाह।
अब ये देखिए, गौरी साहब हैं, इसी तरह से और भी काफ़ी लोग मुख्तलिफ ममालिक में बैठे हुए हैं। तो जब हमारे पास अब टेक्नोलॉजी है, तो हमारा पर्सपेक्टिव, हमारा जो पर्पस
वालेकुम
है,
जी।
वो हमेशा ग्लोबल ही रहेगा। तो सर आई थिंक दिस हैज़ बीन अ फैसिनेटिंग सेशन आपके साथ, और बेसिक इसका पर्पस यही है कि हम हाइलाइट करें जो एस्टेब्लिश्ड स्कॉलर्स हैं लाइक यू, वी नीड टू हाइलाइट देयर वर्क, सेलिब्रेट देयर वर्क, और जो यंग लोग हैं, उनको भी, ताकि कुछ ना कुछ आपसे इंस्पिरेशन हासिल हो। तो और आखिर में मैं एक डिस्क्लोज़ करना चाहता हूँ कि ये जो हमने नाम दिया है इसको ल्यूमिनरी, एक्चुअली दैट इज़ बोरोड फ्रॉम योर नेम। आपका मुनीर का जो नाम है, उसका नाम
Oh,
ल्यूमिनियस है।
I see.
सो
I, I didn't know this.
यस, एंड
They named me when I was born, and I didn't know the meaning. And somebody had told me this is the spelling, which is wrong, by the way, but I still write it. I write MUNIR
या
when it is MUNER. Adi. And another fascinating thing, of course, is Zubair Saab ki walid ka kya naam hai?
इस मुनीर,
Exactly my name, right?
एग्जैक्ट
that is
एग्जैक्ट एग्जैक्ट
that is
स्पेलिंग।
something that is something I didn't know till very late. आपके भाई ने मुझे ये बता दिया, तो मैंने कहा यार ये कुछ there was the student I taught in OPF Girls College. अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी से भी पहले उधर मैंने पढ़ाना शुरू किया. There was a girl, she was an English Kashmiri, and she would tell me, "Sir, you are related to me." I said, "How I'm related to you?" She said, "Because my dad's name is exactly your name." मुझे जाती थी रोजाना. I see.
तो सर
Okay.
ये अब हमारी दो तरह की सीरीज चल रही हैं, एक है ल्यूमिनरीज जिसमें एस्टैब्लिश्ड स्कॉलर्स हैं, जैसे आप हैं, और दूसरा हम उनको लीगल ईगल्स कहते हैं, जो कि अंडर 25 होंगे, यंग लोग होंगे। तो उनको भी हम सेलिब्रेट करेंगे, हमारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, या जो ब्राइट लॉयर्स हैं। तो हमें ज़रूरी नहीं है कि वो जब 40 या 50 के होंगे तभी हम उनको सेलिब्रेट करें।
ना, ना,
तो
ना, ये तो
तो
वैसे मजाकन आपको कहा, आपको खुद पता चलेगा इंशाल्लाह 40 के बाद आप मुझे कहेंगे. यस.
तो आई
कि
थिंक
बाकी तो आई एम ओल्ड, लेकिन दिमाग माशाल्लाह बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है.
so that's very much fascinating. So in the end, Dr. Munir, I want to thank you for your time, for sparing from your precious moment. I know this is very quite late there. You have been a wonderful teacher, a wonderful scholar, an exemplary jurist for all of us to follow. I'm really grateful to you, and Global Institute of Law, Oxford, is very grateful to you for joining us for this session. It was supposed to be for 1 hour, and we are finishing it in 2 hours. So let's hope that
यस.
this is not our first and the last session. तो इंशाल्लाह हम आपको वक्तन फवक्तन जो है वो तकलीफ देते रहेंगे और इस फोरम पर बुलाते रहेंगे.
इंशाल्लाह. Inshallah, and I am very, very thankful to you and to the organizers, all your team, and the Global Legal Studies or the Global Law Institute. And of course, inshallah, I hope there will be many more times you understand that we will at least, you just let me know भाई नेक्स्ट किसका लेक्चर है या कोई प्रेजेंटेशन है, कोई टॉक है, इंशाल्लाह because you learn till what? Till you die, till death. ठीक है जी. तो वो अगर हमने उसूल अपनाया and consider ourselves as what? As a learner and as a student. तो अल्लाह की एक अजीब उसूल है. अल्लाह का उसूल क्या है जी? कि the one who learns, वो उसको समझाता है. And the one who says I learned everything, और अना रब्बुकुमुल आला हो गया, तो अल्लाह फिर एरोगेंट को कुछ नहीं सिखाता. रिमेंबर, हमारे सामने जो है ना मिसालें हैं कुरान में कि किसी ने कहा अना रब्बुकुमुल आला और किसी ने कहा अना आलमु, जो है ना शैतान. तो अल्लाह ताला ने उनका एरोगेंस, फिरौन का एरोगेंस की वजह से हमारे लिए इबरत की निशान बना दिया है. And I think you have been there, you have seen his dead body there. ठीक है जी. तो अल्लाह ताला हमें क्या करे जी, और बस जो 2-4 अल्फाज सीखे हैं, अल्लाह करे कि जो तौफीक दे कि जो हमारे ऊपर अब जिम्मेदारी बन गई है हमारी कि दूसरों तक पहुंचा दे. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, whatever we have learned, we understand कि उसके ऊपर जो है ना वो क्या करे जी, अमल भी करे. And thank you very much. God bless you. It had been a wonderful evening, and it got a bit longer.
So thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Khuda Hafiz, and I have to leave. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.